Fang Yu, who has been practicing for nearly 5,000 years, still hasn't broken through the qi refining period. I really only have the qi refining period, but don't provoke me. Also known as qi refining for 5,000 years, keywords of the novel. The strongest gas refining period in history, also known as 5,000 years of gas refining, no pop-ups, the strongest gas refining period in history, also known as 5,000 years of gas refining, complete collection download. Latest chapter reading of the strongest gas refining period in history, also known as 5,000 years of gas refining. Chapter 1. 5,000 years of gas refining. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. 5,000 years of gas refining. The mountainous areas in the northwest of China are like primitive regions, with no roads, no cars, and even few people. Surrounded by mountains, there is a solitary thatched cottage. There are many herbs planted in the open space outside the thatched cottage, and the medicinal fragrance is overflowing. The space inside the thatched cottage is not large, with only a bed and a desk. The desk is filled with books and various types of grass paper. At this moment, an old man with white hair and beard lay on the bed, his eyes tightly closed and his face peaceful. A young man who appeared to be only 17 or 18 years old sat by the bed. Xiaoxia, I envy you so much. You've only lived for 81 years, and you can pass away safely. Fang Yu looked at the old man who had just passed away in bed and said to himself with a smile on his face. Alas, I'm in dire straits. I don't know how many more years I'll have to live before I end up. Fang Yu sighed, with pain in his eyes and more helplessness. It has been nearly 5,000 years since he entered the path of cultivation. During this long period of time, Fang Yu was unable to die, and his realm could never move any further. He, who has been practicing for nearly 5,000 years, is still in the refining stage. That's right, during the refining period. The most fundamental realm of the path of cultivation. According to strict standards, the refining period cannot even be considered a realm, it can only be considered a period of refining the body. Only after building a foundation can one truly embark on the path of cultivating immortality. But Fang Yu, on the other hand, has been stuck in this stage of gas refining, unable to make any progress. For thousands of years, he has swallowed tens of thousands of foundation pills, but they have had no effect at all. 1,000 years ago, Fang Yu's master comforted him, saying that it was because his spiritual roots were stronger than anyone else, that he had to wait a little longer for qi refining. But 1,000 years have passed, and Fang Yu still cannot break through to the construction period. At this point, his master also felt that there was a mistake. Fang Yu was actually just an ordinary person with no spiritual roots. But how could an ordinary person live for thousands of years without even showing signs of aging? Later, Fang Yu's master successfully crossed the tribulation, ascended to immortality, and left the earth. After that, no one cared about Fang Yu's realm anymore. As time passes, the spiritual resources on earth become increasingly scarce. Today's earth, even if Fang Yu can break through the realm, it is destined to be unable to cross the calamity and become an immortal. But Fang Yu never thought about crossing the tribulation and becoming an immortal. He just wanted to break through this damn period of qi refining. This is his obsession. To this day, he has reached the 9,832nd level of the qi refining period. And for ordinary cultivators, as long as they reach the 12th level of cultivation, they can break through to the foundation period. As soon as he thought about his cultivation, Fang Yu felt a bit depressed. He took a deep breath, stood up, and looked at the grass paper on the desk filled with various prescriptions. If I had known you would become such a drug addict, I shouldn't have taught you medical skills back then. Fang Yu shook his head gently and said helplessly. According to Xiaoxia's last wish, he wants to organize these prescriptions and take them away. Not long after he started organizing, he heard some noisy footsteps and immediately looked up in a direction outside the window of the thatched cottage. Xiaoxia has built a thatched cottage in such a place, how can someone still find it? Fang Yu frowned slightly. After 10 minutes, the group arrived at the thatched cottage. There are a total of 7 people, including 2 young men and women, 1 elderly person sitting in a wheelchair, and 4 men in suits and leather shoes with strong figures, all of whom are bodyguards. Seeing the elderly man sitting in a wheelchair emitting a lifeless aura, Fang Yu knew that this group of people must have come to seek medical treatment. Hello Xia Yaoshen, my name is Tang Feng and we come from the Tang family in Jiangnan. We would like to ask you to give me. The handsome young man walked up and said loudly. Fang Yu pushed open the door and interrupted his words. You came late, Xia Shouji has just passed away. What? Everyone present had a change in expression. The medicinal god Xia Shouji, whom they have been searching for so hard, has actually passed away. How could? Tang Feng's face turned pale and he stared blankly at Fang Yu. In order to cure Tang Laozi's serious illness, they used the resources of the entire family and spent a lot of manpower and material resources to find out the location of the medicine god Xia Shouji, who had been avoiding the world for nearly 20 years. After going through countless hardships, they finally found the thatched cottage where Xia Shouji lived, but unexpectedly, they received this news. How could it be so coincidental? We just found it. No, Xia Yaoshen definitely hasn't passed away. He's just avoiding the world and doesn't want to see us. The exquisitely looking young girl's beautiful eyes turned red and she said excitedly. Yes. The medicine god must still be inside the thatched cottage. Tang Feng's eyes lit up with hope as he stepped into the cottage. Then he saw Xia Shouji lying in bed with his eyes tightly closed. Tang Feng observed carefully and found that the old man on the bed had indeed stopped breathing. How could it be like this? Tang Feng felt his hope shattered and his whole body lost its strength. I said, Xia Shouji has passed away, you can go back now. Fang Yu frowned slightly, feeling a little dissatisfied with Tang Feng's intrusion into the thatched cottage. Tang Feng suddenly thought of something and turned his head to look at Fang Yu, asking, Are you the disciple of the medicine god? You must have also inherited the medical skills of the medicine god. You can treat our grandfather's illness. As long as it can be cured, we are willing to pay no matter how much it costs. Fang Yu shook his head and said, I'm not his disciple. I'm just an old friend of him. Strictly speaking, Fang Yu can be considered Xia Shouji's master. Xia Shouji, who was only 15 years old at the time, was able to embark on the path of medicine under the guidance of Fang Yu. Of course, there is no need to say these words, and no one will believe them when they are spoken. However, even the old friend's statement seems strange. Fang Yu appears to be under 20 years old, while Xia Shouji is over 80 years old. The two are completely out of the same age group, how can they be called old friends? However, no one was pondering at this moment, and the group was immersed in the despair of shattered hope. Upon hearing the news of Xia Shouji's death, Mr. Tang, who was sitting in a wheelchair, completely lost his anger and his eyes were filled with disappointment. Such is fate. His fate has come. There's no need to struggle anymore. The young girl was heartbroken to see her grandfather like this, and tears couldn't stop flowing down her face. Fang Yu frowned slightly and looked at Mr. Tang before suddenly saying, You have lived for 73 years, you should have lived enough. Why do you still want to live? Upon hearing this sentence, everyone was taken aback, curious about how Fang Yu would know the age of Mr. Tang. But when they heard Fang Yu's words behind them, their faces changed. Enough of living. Where in this world will anyone live enough? What does this sentence mean? Provoking. Sarcasm. You bastard, what do you mean? Tang Feng's face turned pale as he punched Fang Yu in the chest. Fang Yu's eyes twitched slightly, his body remained motionless. Bang! Tang Feng's fist had not yet touched Fang Yu, but he was hit by a huge force and flew backwards, falling to the ground. The faces of the others present changed greatly and were shocked. Although it was Tang Feng who punched, the young man didn't even move. Why did Tang Feng fall to the ground instead? Brother! The beautiful girl screamed. The 4 bodyguards reacted and immediately took a few steps forward to reach Fang Yu. No hands allowed. Mr. Tang, sitting in a wheelchair, ordered in a hoarse voice. The 4 bodyguards immediately stopped their steps. Tang Feng covered his chest and got up from the ground, looking at Fang Yu with frightened eyes. Little brother, we're impolite. May I ask your name? Mr. Tang asked. Fang Yu replied. Tang Laozi nodded slightly and said, just now, little brother, you asked me why I still want to live. I can answer some questions. Because I still want to continue to be with my family, I want to see my grandchildren grow up, get married, and give birth to offspring. Isn't everyone like this? One generation after another, watching over. Tang said with a smile. Grandpa. The girl beside her cried even more sadly when she heard Tang's words. Family. Fang Yu's eyes twitched slightly. For him, family has been a thing for a long time, but for ordinary people, family has always existed, generation after generation. And the vast majority of mortals, who wouldn't want to live longer. Are you in the late stage of lung cancer, with less than 3 months left to live? Enjoy the last part of your life, Fang Yu said, turning back to the thatched cottage and closing the door. The Tang family and their group were stunned. How could Fang Yu tell at a glance that Mr. Tang had lung cancer? And just like those doctors said, Mr. Tang has less than 3 months left in his lifespan. He is indeed the disciple of the medicine god. After realizing his reaction, Tang Feng knocked on the door of the thatched cottage again and shouted, Mr. Fang, you are definitely the disciple of the medicine god, right? Please treat my grandfather's illness. Life and death are predetermined. You leave here immediately, otherwise don't blame me for being impolite. Fang Yu's calm voice came from inside the thatched cottage. The doctor is kind-hearted, how can you refuse to save yourself in the face of death? Tang Feng said with anger. Fenger, come back, said Tang Laozi. Grandpa. Tang Feng's eyes turned red as he turned to look at Mr. Tang. You're right, life and death are predetermined. Heaven wants me to die, how can I not die? Let's go, said Mr. Tang. Little brother, I have great respect for Mr. Xia. I didn't expect Mr. Xia to have passed away. We apologize for disturbing Mr. Xia with our arrival today. I hope Mr. Xia, who is in heaven, won't be blamed, said Mr. Tang sincerely. After speaking, he signaled the group to turn around and leave. Although Tang Feng was unwilling, since Tang Laozi ordered him, he had no choice but to follow and leave. On the way back, everyone remained silent and the atmosphere was gloomy. Tang Feng noticed that his younger sister was lost in thought and frowned, asking, Xiaoro, what are you thinking? Tang Xiaoro frowned slightly and murmured, I always feel. This Fang Yu looks a bit familiar, as if I've seen him somewhere before. How could this be? This is our first time in the northwest region, how could you possibly have met this Fang Yu? Tang Feng said. That's right. But I really feel a bit familiar, Tang Xiaoro rubbed her temples and said. Tang Feng was in a bad mood and ignored Tang Xiaoro, only thinking that she had mistaken someone. But after walking a few more steps, Tang Xiaoro suddenly stopped. I remember, I saw him at school. End of this chapter. Chapter 2, Here Comes the Trouble. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2, Here Comes the Trouble. Jiangnan Region, Jianghai City. Coming out of the train station in the evening, passing by the vegetable market, Fang Yu bought a slaughtered chicken and 2 cans of beer, and slowly walked home. His home is in a dilapidated urban village, with a house with a small courtyard on 2 floors. Fang Yu lives on the 2nd floor, and the other mother and daughter live on the 1st floor. The rent here is very cheap, only 500 yuan per month. Upon returning home, Fang Yu set up an oven in the yard and roasted the chicken on top of it. Just as Fang Yu was coating the chicken with sauce, a girl carrying a backpack ran into the yard. "It smells so good, brother Fang Yu. I smelled it from a long distance." The girl walked up to Fang Yu and looked at the chicken on the oven, her big eyes shining. "Don't worry, you must have a share," Fang Yu said. "Brother Fang Yu treated me the best," the girl said happily and walked into her house. This girl is a resident on the first floor, Yu Yaya, currently in her first year of high school. After a moment, Yu Yaya walked out again and sat next to Fang Yu with a small stool. "Brother Fang Yu, where have you been these days? My mother has recently returned to her hometown, and I live here alone, so boring." Yu Yaya put his chin on his hands and said. "An old friend passed away, I'll go see him," Fang Yu replied truthfully. "I'm sorry, it's just a matter of time." Yu Yaya whispered as if she had done something wrong. "Fang Yu, this friend, must be about the same age as Fang Yu, and we have a good relationship. It's too tragic to pass away at such a young age." Yu Yaya noticed that Fang Yu's face was not at all sad, just staring at the greasy roasted chicken and swallowing saliva. "All right." After a few minutes, Fang Yu picked up the roasted chicken and held it in his hand, seemingly not afraid of being scalded at all. Fang Yu pulled off a chicken leg and handed it to Yu Yaya, then he picked up the remaining roasted chicken and started eating it himself. How fragrant. Speaking of which, a person who has been practicing for nearly 5,000 years can't even achieve the goal of clearing valleys and has to rely on grains to feed himself, which is truly a great mistake in the world. But Fang Yu has no choice. He may not eat, but he will be hungry. A long time ago, he had a period of extreme aversion to the world and wanted to go on a hunger strike to commit suicide. "After not eating or drinking for 2 months, I still lived well." However, although his physical function is not a problem, he will feel extremely hungry and thirsty. As long as there is this feeling of hunger and thirst, Fang Yu must eat and drink, otherwise it will be very uncomfortable. At night, Fang Yu sat on his bed, looking at the prescriptions that Xia Xiuji had spent nearly 20 years writing one by one. These prescriptions were the lifelong research of Xia Xiuji and his painstaking efforts. Any prescription is a priceless treasure, and leakage will inevitably cause a stir in the medical community. This kid has even studied prescriptions for tonifying the kidneys and enhancing yang. "He's truly outstanding," Fang Yu muttered to himself. Bang bang bang. Just as Fang Yu was looking at the prescription, there was a fierce knocking on the door downstairs. "Old Yu, come out. You owe us 50,000 gambling debts," his mother. "You don't think you need to pay it back if you hide, do you?" A rough voice sounded. With Fang Yu's hearing, he could hear Yu Yaya's crying in the first floor room. The girl seems to have said that her mother has returned to her hometown, and she is alone these days. "Hurry up and open the door. If we don't open it, we'll demolish your house. Let me catch you later and crush your eggs," another voice shouted. Bang. As they spoke, they had already started banging on the door. "Yu Qingye has already divorced my mother, it has nothing to do with us, and he is not here either," Yu Yaya said with a tearful tone. "If you say you're not here, then you're not there. You're his daughter, would you be desperate?" The two men continued to knock on the door. "If you hit me again, I'll call the police," Yu Yaya cried out. "Do you dare to report to the police? I'll clean you up first if I break into the door later," one of the men threatened. Bang, bang, bang. The door was knocked open. Two fierce and evil men who came to collect debts walked into the room and saw Yu Yaya sitting on the side with her legs weak due to fear. Two men looked around and found no one else at home, only Yu Yaya. "Oh, can this old dog still give birth to such a beautiful daughter?" A man looked at Yu Yaya sitting on the ground, his eyes burning. "Then I have a solution. Since I can't find Yu Laogo, I'll take her and sell her. The money I earn will be used to repay Yu Laogo's debt, said another man. Don't worry, before that, we can. Hee hee. The man crouched down and looked at Yu, who was trembling all over, with a wicked smile as he reached out. But before his hand touched Yu, he felt a tremendous force lifting him up. Who are you? The other man shouted, wanting the other man to take action. Bang! The next second, the man let out a scream and was kicked out by Fang Yu, falling into the yard. The man held in his hand by Fang Yu didn't even have a chance to speak, so he slapped him several times before throwing him into the yard. Whoever owes you money, go find them. 3 seconds, get out of here immediately, Fang Yu said calmly. These two men were beaten 2 or 3 times and felt dizzy. Knowing Fang Yu's terrifying situation, they naturally dared not linger any longer, and even dared not speak harshly. They ran out in a mess. Looking at Yu trembling and crying on the ground, Fang Yu crouched down and said, "It's okay, I've already driven them away." Yu hugged Fang Yu and cried even louder. After comforting Yu for a while and repairing her door, Fang Yu finally returned to the second floor. To be honest, Fang Yu, who has lived for nearly 5,000 years, has seen too much and his temperament has become quite indifferent. For many people's misfortunes, such as Mr. Tang, he would choose to watch coldly. He only selectively helps people he has a connection with or finds interesting. It was already late at night, and Fang Yu lay in bed with his eyes closed, about to go to sleep. Just like not eating food, Fang Yu won't die without sleeping, but he will feel sleepy. So, he still has to sleep. But within 2 minutes of closing his eyes, he heard a knock on the door. Walking to open the door, I found Yu wearing thin pajamas. "Brother Fang Yu, I dare not sleep alone at home. Can you let me sleep at your house?" Yu's beautiful big eyes were crying and swollen, and her delicate nose was also red, looking pitiful. The person she trusts the most besides her mother is Fang Yu. Fang Yu was taken aback for a moment. He only had one bed at home. But seeing that Yu's body was still trembling, Fang Yu did not refuse and agreed to her request. "You can sleep in my bed tonight," Fang Yu said. I can just sleep on the floor, you can sleep in bed." Yu said. "It's okay, I slept on the train for a long time today and didn't feel sleepy," Fang Yu said. Yu stopped speaking and carefully climbed onto Fang Yu's bed. This is Brother Fang Yu's bed, and there is still temperature on it. He was lying here just now, lying in bed, looking at Fang Yu sitting at the desk and looking at a large stack of prescriptions. Yu only felt her face burning. "I actually lay on Brother Fang Yu's bed. What is Brother Fang Yu looking at? How could Brother Fang Yu be so capable of fighting? Just now, those 2 men were so fierce, but Brother Fang Yu threw them out with just 2 strikes. How handsome." Yu, a young girl, was in a state of nostalgia and had wild thoughts. Soon, a drowsiness hit her and she fell asleep. The next day, Fang Yu came to Jianghai Middle School. In fact, he has studied many times for thousands of years. But there's no way, since he wants to survive, he has to live like a normal person. Having tried countless professions, Fang Yu still finds studying the most interesting and relaxing. Returning to the classroom of Class 2 of Grade 3, Fang Yu sat in the corner of the classroom. In the class, he is just a secluded and low-key student, with few friends and no significant presence. He can guarantee that at least half of the class members don't even know his name. "I heard that Tang Xiaoro, the school flower of the key class next door, is going to transfer to our class, is that true?" "Yeah," the class monitor overheard Tang Xiaoro talking to our class teacher in the office, asking her to transfer to our class. "Damn it, what's the situation? This is a goddess. Why does she want to transfer to our class? Is she interested in any boy here?" Fang Yu could hear the voices of these people, but he only felt noisy. "Hey, Fang Yu, Tang Xiaoro is going to transfer to our class. Why aren't you excited at all?" asked Lu Dong, a chubby classmate, who poked Fang Yu's arm. I don't even know who she is, why get excited? Fang Yu asked in response. Damn it, haven't you heard of Tang Xiaoro? She is the daughter of the Tang family in Jiangnan, with a prominent family background, not to mention. The key is that she also has a beautiful angelic face, making her the undisputed school flower and goddess-level figure of our Jianghai Middle School. Lu Fatty exclaimed excitedly. Jiangnan Tang family. I think I've heard of it somewhere. But Fang Yu just said, oh, and then lay on the table, closing his eyes and recuperating. I haven't slept all night and feel a bit tired. Seeing Fang Yu uninterested, Lu Pengzi stopped arguing with him. The class bell rang, everyone returned to their seats, sat upright, waiting for the arrival of the school flower. Sure enough, the homeroom teacher Huang Hai led a girl into the classroom. This girl is wearing a school uniform, tied with a single ponytail, with an unpainted face, but her skin is still fair and shiny like snow. Her facial features are very delicate, with starry eyes, a delicate nose, and rosy lips. Wearing the same school uniform, the girl exuded a ethereal feeling. This is the school flower, this is the goddess. Both boys and girls in the class almost exclaimed at the same time. Starting from today, Tang Xiaoro will be transferred to our second class to study together. Let's warmly welcome Tang Xiaoro, said the class teacher Huang Hai with a respectful expression. The students in the class all applauded, causing Fang Yu, who was closing his eyes and recuperating, to raise his head. As soon as he lifted his head, Fang Yu saw Tang Xiaoro standing on the podium. Surprisingly, it's her. Fang Yu immediately understood why Tang Xiaoro had to transfer to this class. Damn it. Here comes the trouble. Tang Xiaoro was also searching for Fang Yu in her class. When she saw Fang Yu in the corner, her beautiful eyes lit up. Fang Yu, you are indeed here. Teacher, I want to sit with him at the same table, Tang Xiaoro said as she stared closely at Fang Yu's position. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. I can't help you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. I can't help you. The students in the class followed Tang Xiaoro's gaze and looked towards the corner where Fang Yu was located. Their gaze naturally fell on He Donglin in the front row of Fang Yu. He Donglin is the class leader of Class 2 in Grade 3, with a handsome appearance and a wealthy family. He is the crush of many girls in the class. Is Tang Xiaoro also transferred to this class for He Donglin? Donglin brother, it seems that Miss Tang from the Tang family is coming for you, Hu Tao, his desk mate, touched He Donglin with his elbow and said. He Donglin is also a bit confused. In his first year of high school, he once pursued Tang Xiaoro, but before he even spoke, he was warned by someone sent by the Tang family. From then on, He Donglin knew that Tang Xiaoro was not someone he could provoke. But now that she is in her third year of high school and about to graduate, why did Tang Xiaoro come knocking on her door instead? Can it be that Tang Xiaoro has been secretly in love with him for a long time? Upon this thought, He Donglin immediately straightened his waist and casually tidied up his bangs, feeling extremely excited in his heart, but on the surface, he remained calm and composed. The students in the class are all focused on Tang Xiaoro and He Donglin. As for Fang Yu and Fatty, they had long overlooked them. How could these two people, one with a fat house and the other with a solitary personality, possibly be favored by the goddess Tang Xiaoro? Damn it, another flower is going to be ruined by He Donglin. Ah, if only I were as wealthy and handsome as He Donglin. Tang Xiaoro is my goddess. How could she fall in love with others? The boys in the class are both envious and jealous, with complex emotions. Class teacher Huang Hai looked at Tang Xiaoro kindly and asked, Tang Xiaoro, do you want to sit at the same table as He Donglin? Tang Xiaoro didn't speak, just walked straight off the podium and towards the position where Fang Yu was. He Donglin was very nervous, his heart pounding and thinking about what to say in the first sentence. Tang Xiaoro got closer and closer, and He Donglin's mouth slightly raised, revealing a sunny smile, just about to speak. Unexpectedly, Tang Xiaoro didn't stop by his side at all, but walked behind him. "Teacher, I want to sit at the same table as Fang Yu," Tang Xiaoro said as she looked at Fang Yu with bright eyes. The classroom was silent, and the students in the class opened their eyes wide and looked at each other. What's going on? Tang Xiaoro actually wants to sit with Fang Yu, who doesn't have much presence, at the same table. But not Ban Chao He Donglin. "Classmate, are you willing to give me this seat?" Tang Xiaoro spoke to Lu Pengzi, who was stunned, with a gentle tone and a gentle and pleasant voice. As a chubby mansion, Lu Pengzi faced such a beautiful girl up close for the first time. His face turned red for a moment, his mouth opened, but he couldn't speak. "I don't want to sit at the same table as you," said Fang Yu on the side before Lu Pengzi could speak. Wow! Some boys couldn't help but burst out in shock. Tang Xiaoro's request to sit with Fang Yu was enough to shock them. But they didn't expect that Fang Yu would still refuse to sit with Tang Xiaoro. Does he know what he refused? It's the dream of all the boys in the school. Damn it, you don't want to, I do. All the boys in the class are shouting in their hearts. Tang Xiaoro didn't care about Fang Yu's refusal and turned her head to look at Huang Hai. Feeling Tang Xiaoro's gaze, Huang Hai tightened all over. As Tang Xiaoro, even if the principal is in front of her, she must have a respectful attitude. Now she has a small request, and Yellow Sea naturally has to fulfill it. So, Huang Hai looked at Fang Yu and said in a deep voice, "Fang Yu, please have a good attitude. Tang Xiaoro just joined our class group, how can you talk to her like this? You and Lu Dong often whisper in class, I've been wanting to separate you two for a long time. Just right, let Tang Xiaoro sit with you at the table. Lu Dong will move to the back of the second group and sit alone. Move now." The homeroom teacher gave the order, and Fang Yu naturally had nothing to say. A few minutes later, Tang Xiaoro succeeded in becoming Fang Yu's desk mate. And Lu Pengzi sat alone at the back of the second group. Tang Xiaoro is a top student from a key class, everyone must learn more from her. Huang Hai flattered again. For Fang Yu, sitting at the same table with Tang Xiaoro is undoubtedly a bad thing. He kept a low profile in this high school for 2 whole years, to the extent that most of the students in the class couldn't even remember his name. But all of this was destroyed by Tang Xiaoro. Just like now, although he is still in class, Fang Yu can feel many eyes locked on him. Ah! Fang Yu sighed and rubbed his temples. After class, under the gaze of the whole class, Fang Yu and Tang Xiaoro left the classroom and arrived at the rooftop of the teaching building. "I know your intention in coming to me, but I can tell you that I can't help you," Fang Yu said straightforwardly. Tang Xiaoro bit her lips lightly and said, "You are the disciple of the medicine god. You can definitely save my grandfather. I've said before, I'm not Xia Shouji's disciple, I'm his friend." Fang Yu shook his head and said, "Don't deceive me, you can tell at a glance that my grandfather is in the late stage of lung cancer and has less than 3 months of life left. Apart from the disciple of the medicine god, who else can do it?" Tang Xiaoro said firmly. Fang Yu regretted it very much. He shouldn't have said that sentence too much in the beginning. So what, it doesn't mean anything. Late-stage cancer, no one in the world can cure it, right? Fang Yu raised his eyebrows. "I don't beg you to cure me, I just hope you can extend my grandfather's life and let him live a few more years. Please, we really have no other choice." Tang Xiaoro's beautiful eyes turned red and she choked up. Over the past year, the Tang family has spent money to hire many well-known domestic and foreign experts to diagnose Mr. Tang, and the conclusions drawn are the same. Mr. Tang's illness is no longer treatable. Afterwards, they went through countless hardships to find the residence of the medicine god Xia Shouji, but to their surprise, the medicine god had already passed away. Nowadays, Fang Yu, who appears at the residence of the medicine god and can easily see Tang Laozi's illness at a glance, is the last straw to save his life. A beautiful girl of Tang Xiaorou's level was about to cry, with a pitiful and delicate appearance. As long as she was a normal man, she couldn't hold on to it. However, Fang Yu is not a normal man, he is an old monster who has lived for almost 5,000 years. Sorry, we can't do it either, Fang Yu said. With so many people in the world facing misfortune, Fang Yu is unable to save everyone, let alone have an obligation to save everyone. Fang Yu only wants to live a peaceful and indifferent life, hoping that one day he can break through the period of refining qi. He is not a hero, nor does he want to be a hero. No matter how much compensation you want, we can afford it. Tang Xiaorou said again. I really can't help you, and I don't need any money, Fang Yu replied calmly, turning around and leaving. After taking 2 steps, he turned back and said, by the way, I hope you can move out. I don't want to sit with you. I really hate trouble. Seeing Fang Yu leave without looking back, Tang Xiaorou's face turned pale with anger. As the young lady of the Tang family, she had never attempted to plead so humbly, even shedding tears. But this Fang Yu, on the other hand, doesn't get any oil or salt in, and he looks calm and gentle. Hate trouble. Then I'm going to cause trouble for you. Tang Xiaorou gritted her teeth. The two of them returned to the classroom and there was no communication in the following classes. Until the end of the last class in the morning, Fang Yu was still sleeping on the table, while Tang Xiaorou sorted out her books and poked Fang Yu's shoulder with her green fingers. Fang Yu, let's go have lunch together, Tang Xiaorou said in a sweet voice. Fang Yu raised his head and looked at Tang Xiaorou, who had a bright smile, feeling uneasy. Forget it, you were too tired last night. Keep sleeping and I'll bring you food later. Just wait patiently. Tang Xiaorou's eyes flickered with a hint of cunning as she stood up and left the classroom. And in the classroom, the students who heard Tang Xiaorou's 2 words were already crazy. This sentence contains too much information. What does it mean to be too tired last night? What does the shyness and blush on Tang Xiaorou's face mean when she says this? Is it possible that Tang Xiaorou has already been given by Fang Yu? Faced with the jealous gaze of many boys in the class, Fang Yu remained calm and composed. It seems that Tang Xiaorou is sincerely going to cause trouble for him. However, Tang Xiaorou's willingness to tarnish her own reputation in order to cause misunderstandings can be considered heartfelt. However, Fang Yu doesn't care at all. He hates trouble, but that doesn't mean he's afraid of trouble. Isn't it just being famous at school and being envied by a group of little brats who haven't even opened their hair? What kind of thing is this? A person who has been practicing for nearly 5,000 years, if they can't even handle the tricks of a teenage girl, it's better to commit suicide. Fang Yu stood up and wanted to go to the cafeteria with Lu Pengzi for a meal, but was stopped. Hey, Fang Yu, I want to discuss something with you. Let's go out and talk in the hallway. The person speaking was He Donglin in the front row. End of this chapter. Is he an Earthling in chapter 4? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is he an Earthling in chapter 4? Could you please come so soon? Fang Yu frowned slightly and asked, what's up? Hee, let's talk about it outside. The impact here is not very good, He Donglin said with a slightly threatening smile on his face. Fang Yu didn't say anything more and nodded. Subsequently, Fang Yu followed He Donglin and others to the corner of the stairs. There are 4 boys standing next to He Donglin, all of whom are the younger brothers who usually hang out with him. 5 people surrounded Fang Yu. He Donglin stood in front of Fang Yu and asked in a condescending tone, Fang Yu, do you really recognize Tang Xiaorou? I've met before, but I don't really know each other, Fang Yu replied truthfully. Don't know each other? Then why did Tang Xiaorou transfer shifts and ask to sit with you? He Donglin asked again. He Donglin's tone was very unfriendly, but Fang Yu didn't care. Because she has a request from me, Fang Yu replied again. Tang Xiaorou has a request for you. Ha, are you joking? Tang Xiaorou's daughter of 1,000 will have a request for you, a loser who is just waiting to die. He Donglin sneered. His 4 little brothers also laughed along. Fang Yu also smiled and didn't speak. After laughing for a while, He Donglin asked again, Fang Yu, tell me truthfully, does Tang Xiaoro have any leverage in your hands? No, Fang Yu shook his head. Really not. He Donglin stared at Fang Yu's face and asked. Fang Yu was too lazy to respond again. He, I know you don't know how to answer. But no matter what, you can find a way for me to move out of my seat. Tomorrow when I come to the classroom, I don't want to see Tang Xiaoro sitting with you, understand? He Donglin said in a commanding tone. I'll do my best, Fang Yu yawned. Can I go now? I'm hungry. You can leave now, but I hope you remember what I said, otherwise don't blame me for disregarding my 2-year relationship as a classmate, He Donglin sneered. Due to his family's wealth and being accompanied by several younger brothers, He Donglin has always been an extremely arrogant and domineering presence in Class 2, and no one in the class dares to provoke him. In the eyes of He Donglin, Fang Yu, who had no sense of existence, was even more of a harmless waste. Seeing Fang Yu slowly leave, Hu Tao beside him asked, Brother Donglin, will you let him go like this? I think he must have Tang Xiaoro's handle in his hand. If he can ask, you can also let Tang Xiaoro treat you. Don't worry, there are too many people in school now, and it's not easy for us to take action. Don't worry, if this useless person doesn't listen, there will be many opportunities to educate him. He Donglin said coldly. Lu Pengzi was waiting for Fang Yu at the classroom door, and when he saw Fang Yu returning intact, he breathed a sigh of relief. Fang Yu, next time He Donglin asks you to go out alone, don't go out alive or dead. This person is not a good person to criticize, said Lu Pengzi. Oh, Fang Yu nodded. You may not be quite sure, but He Donglin's family runs a construction company, and his father has some influence in Jianghai City. It's not something we ordinary people can afford to provoke. Lu Pengzi said anxiously when he saw that Fang Yu didn't seem to care too much. Fang Yu remained silent. During the afternoon break, Fang Yu went to the office and requested a seat change with the homeroom teacher Huang Hai. Huang Hai became furious and scolded, Fang Yu, do you think the school is run by your family? If you want to change seats, you can change seats. Besides, just like you, can you sit at the same table as Tang Xiaoro? And still be a good girl after getting a discount. Obviously, in the Yellow Sea, Tang Xiaoro's speaking weight is much higher than that of Fang Yu, and it is impossible for Fang Yu to successfully apply for a position change. Since that's the case, then let's not change it. Fang Yu returned to the classroom and sat back in his seat. Throughout the afternoon, He Donglin and Hu Tao in the front row turned back several times, warning Fang Yu with threatening eyes. After the school bell rang, Tang Xiaoro packed her backpack and smiled at Fang Yu, saying, Fang Yu, see you tomorrow. I will definitely help you review well in the days to come. Fang Yu pretended not to hear, but everyone around him heard. Before leaving the classroom, He Donglin walked up to Fang Yu and sneered, Fang Yu, don't forget what I said this morning, otherwise. Fang Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him and didn't wait for him to finish speaking before turning around and leaving. As Fang Yu left, He Donglin's eyes flashed with a hint of ferocity. A useless person, dare not take me, He Donglin, seriously. Donglin, should we go out and teach him a lesson now? Asked Hu Tao beside him. He Donglin waved his hand and said coldly, no need, since Fang Yu doesn't want to move his seat, let's help him. There are several small mountains next to the urban village where Fang Yu's home is located. At the foot of one of the small mountains, Fang Yu owned a vegetable garden where various vegetables were grown. Every 2 days, he comes here to water the vegetables, and then pick some vegetables to cook. Today, as usual, Fang Yu arrived at the vegetable garden and carried 2 buckets to a nearby stream to fetch water. As soon as he put the bucket into the stream, Fang Yu noticed that there was a layer of black and red liquid floating above the usually clear stream water. At the same time, Fang Yu also smelled a hint of bloody smell floating in the air. Blood floats on the stream. Damn it. Good stream water, it's contaminated with blood like this. Fang Yu frowned, stood up, and then walked towards the upstream of the stream. Walking over a small slope, Fang Yu saw a woman wearing a slightly tattered black OL uniform about 30 meters ahead, clutching her left arm and stumbling along the stream. That blood flowed down her left arm and dripped onto the stream. Seeing Fang Yu, the woman's eyes lit up with hope and shouted with all her might, "Help, help. Ji Rume, Miss Yang wants you to die. No one can save you today." A strong male voice came from behind the woman. Two men in black suits and sunglasses chased after the woman about 20 meters behind them, both holding handguns with silencers in their hands. Fang Yu was not prepared to meddle in his affairs, so he had to turn around and leave. But those two men also saw Fang Yu. "Who are you?" One of the men raised his pistol and aimed it at Fang Yu. "What day is today? How come all these unfortunate things have happened?" Fang Yu said helplessly, "I'm just a passerby. Don't worry, I haven't seen anything, I haven't heard anything." Upon hearing Fang Yu's words, the injured woman felt a sense of darkness and despair before her eyes. And those two men looked at each other with a fierce light in their eyes. What they said just now must not be leaked. In this kind of wilderness, killing one is also killing, killing two is also killing. Kid, if you want to blame yourself for your bad luck. The man holding the pistol pulled the trigger. Puff. A bullet shot towards Fang Yu's chest. Between the lightning and flint, Fang Yu disappeared into place. This bullet actually shot empty. "Ah, why do you have to provoke me? I just want to fetch some water to go back and water the vegetable garden." Fang Yu sighed in the air. Before the two men could react, Fang Yu appeared less than a meter in front of them. Fang Yu extended his right hand and slapped the man in front of him in the face. Click. The man's head twisted 180 degrees, facing backwards, his facial features twisted, his mouth still bleeding, and he had already died. The companions on the side were frightened to the point of seeing this scene, and they screamed before wanting to run. But Fang Yu didn't give him this opportunity and punched him on the left chest. Pop it. There was another chilling sound of broken bones, and the man who wanted to escape fell to the ground. His eyes were bulging with fear. The two people who were still alive 5 seconds ago turned into two dead bodies in an instant. Fang Yu's eyes were calm, without any ripples. He didn't intend to take action and promised not to say anything, but these two people still want to silence him, so there's nothing they can do. "You don't touch me, I don't touch you. If you touch me, I will kill you." After solving these two people, Fang Yu turned his head and looked at the woman who had been shot. At this moment, the woman was also wide-eyed, staring blankly at Fang Yu. Those two assassins were just solved like this. What kind of person is this man? Is he an Earthling? The woman has lost a lot of blood and is already very weak. Now her mind has been hit again, and for a while, her brain lacks blood supply and she faints. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Hands On. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Hands On. At this moment, Fang Yu focused his attention on the woman who had fainted. Although the woman's face was stained with some blood, she could still see her stunning appearance. More importantly, this face bears a striking resemblance to a female friend of Fang Yu many years ago. Is it her descendant? Fang Yu thought to himself. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that it was accidental. According to probability, after so many years, there has been an increase in the population on Earth, and it is normal for someone with a similar appearance to appear. Because of this face, Fang Yu decided to save the woman. 10 minutes later, Fang Yu helped the woman bandage the wound, stopped the bleeding, and called an ambulance for her. When the ambulance arrived, Fang Yu had already left. The woman was lifted onto an ambulance by medical staff and taken to the hospital. Fang Yu walked slowly home with freshly picked vegetables. Jianghai City, young family, in the study. A stunning woman in silk pajamas, leaning on a chair, was gazing out the window at the night view. The phone rang on the desk, and the woman frowned slightly as she picked up the phone. Miss Yang, the mission has failed. Ji Rume has been sent to the hospital and the Ji family has sent many people to protect her. In the short term, we may not have a chance to. I just need to know the reason for the mission failure, there's no need to say anything else. The woman's voice was extremely cold, with a hint of murderous intent. We are still investigating the reason. Currently, we only know that our two assassins had successfully taken care of Ji Rume's personal bodyguard and forced her to jump off a mountain road near Jiannan village. Afterwards, they completely lost contact, and Ji Rume was also. Upon hearing this, the woman knew that someone out of plan had rescued Ji Rume, otherwise Ji Rume would never have been alive and would have been taken to the hospital. 3 days, I'll give you 3 days to find the person who saved Ji Rume, the woman ordered. After hanging up the phone, the woman picked up the wine glass placed on the table with her fair jade hands, gently shook it, and watched the deep red liquid inside shake. No matter who you are, if you dare to break Yang Yingju's plan, I will dig 3 feet deep and expose you. The next morning, as soon as Fang Yu entered the classroom door, he saw an empty space behind the classroom, with a table upside down and scattered books on the ground. On Fang Yu's original seat, there was only one chair left. The classmates in the class looked at Fang Yu with mostly teasing and mockery, while a few showed sympathy. Fang Yu frowned slightly and asked, "Who did it?" No one answered his question. Fang Yu looked around and asked again, "May I ask who did it?" "Alas, you look so pitiful. Let me tell you, it was He Donglin and his group who did it." At this moment, a beautiful-looking girl impatiently spoke up. "This girl's name is Jiang Yu. Before Tang Xiaoro transferred to another class, she was considered the class monitor of Class 2 and also one of He Donglin's ex-girlfriends." "Oh, he did it." Fang Yu nodded and looked at He Donglin's seat, realizing that he hadn't come yet. "He did it, so what can you do? Do you dare to beat him up? When he comes later, you dare not even fart. What are you pretending to be here early in the morning? It's annoying when you see it," Jiang Yu said sharply. Fang Yu gave Jiang Yu a faint glance. After more than 2 years at Jianghai Middle School, he had almost no presence in the class, let alone offending anyone. But the tone in which Jiang Yu spoke to him carried an inexplicable disgust. "I haven't offended you, have I? Why did you say that to me?" Fang Yu asked. Hee, I just see that you're unhappy, how about it? I just like to scold you, so what?" Jiang Yu looked up and said in a high and aloof manner. Since Tang Xiaoro transferred to Class 2 yesterday, Jiang Yu's mood has been very bad. Originally, she was also considered a star in the class, but now the topic of discussion among the male and female students in the class revolves around Tang Xiaoro. As Tang Xiaoro's desk mate, Fang Yu naturally made Jiang Yu extremely unhappy. Moreover, Fang Yu doesn't have much status in the class, he's just a soft persimmon, so it's just right to vent his anger on him. Fang Yu naturally did not have the same understanding as Jiang Yu and walked towards his seat. The toad wants to eat swan meat. It deserves to be educated by He Donglin. Jiang Yu said loudly behind Fang Yu. Fang Yu returned to his seat, sat on the chair, and didn't go to the back of the classroom to move back to the table. The classmates next to them are either mocking or looking curious. What is Fang Yu doing? Waiting for someone to bring him back to the table? Or are you giving a presentation after the homeroom teacher arrives? After a while, Lu Pengzi also came to the classroom and immediately understood what had happened when he saw this scene. Fang Yu, I'll help you bring the table back, said Lu Pengzi. No need, when He Donglin comes, I will have him move back, said Fang Yu. Lu Pengzi's face changed slightly and he said, Fang Yu, it's better to endure it. He Donglin, we can't afford to provoke. Some boys around couldn't help but laugh and said, do you still want He Donglin to move you back? Fang Yu, I used to think you were just introverted and didn't like to talk. Now I realize you're a fool. When He Donglin comes later, you'll know you're wrong. As soon as he finished speaking, He Donglin, carrying a shoulder bag, walked into the classroom with his several classmates. Seeing Fang Yu sitting alone in the chair, these people showed a mocking smile. He Donglin walked directly to Fang Yu and pretended to be surprised, saying, Fang Yu, why is your table missing? Someone said you threw the table behind. Fang Yu looked up slightly and looked straight at He Donglin, his eyes calm. Upon encountering Fang Yu's slightly hollow gaze, He Donglin's heart skipped a beat, feeling a hint of fear. But he quickly regained his senses and felt ashamed of the fear he had just experienced. Fang Yu is just a waste, he's afraid of nothing. I did it, so what? Yesterday I gave you a lot of face, but you didn't give me face. I won't give you any color to show you. Do you really think that He Donglin is a vegetarian? He Donglin said loudly, no longer hiding it. Bring my desk back, organize the books on the ground and put them on, I can no longer pursue them, said Fang Yu. Upon hearing this sentence, not only He Donglin, but also the other classmates in the class were stunned. No further investigation. Who does Fang Yu think he is? Who does he think he is facing? Ha ha ha. Fang Yu, I found you quite cute, He Donglin sneered. Damn it, Donglin brother, I can't help it anymore. I really want to beat this kid to relieve his anger. Hu Tao clenched his fist and said. At the same time, several followers of He Donglin surrounded Fang Yu. Upon seeing this scene, most of the classmates in the class had a mocking expression, especially Jiang Yu, who wished to see Fang Yu being beaten to tears. Lu Pengzi's forehead was sweating, so he quickly walked out of the classroom and ran towards the office. He must quickly find the homeroom teacher, otherwise Fang Yu will suffer a big loss. What did you say just now? Say it again. He Donglin crossed his waist and looked down at Fang Yu, saying. I asked you to move my desk back to its original position and take the books on the ground. Fang Yu said. I'll go fuck you. Before Fang Yu could finish speaking, He Donglin's face suddenly turned fierce, while extending his right palm and slapping Fang Yu's face. But the next second, his hand was tightly held by Fang Yu, unable to move. How dare you fight back? Hu Tao on the side raised his foot and kicked Fang Yu in the chest. But the foot he kicked was also tightly held by Fang Yu. You guys should take action first, Fang Yu said calmly, swinging his hands vigorously at the same time. Bang! Bang! He Donglin and Hu Tao flew out directly and fell on the open ground behind the classroom, making two muffled noises. What happened? No one can react. At this moment, Fang Yu had already walked to the back of the classroom and looked down at He Donglin and Hu Tao, who had fallen into a daze. Move my desk back to its original position, Fang Yu said calmly. When did He Donglin suffer such a loss? At this moment, his face turned pale with anger and he said angrily, Fang Yu, I grass your mother. How dare you take action against me? I want you to regret it. Ah! Fang Yu stepped on He Donglin's right hand and exerted a slight force. He Donglin only felt a piercing pain from his right hand and began to howl. Move my desk back to its original position, Fang Yu said again. I grass your mother, Fang Yu, wait for me. Ah! He Donglin's body was writhing in pain. Pa la! A chilling sound of broken bones echoed in the quiet classroom. I'll repeat for the last time, move my desk back to its original position, said Fang Yu, still expressionless. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. We're even. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. We're even. The classroom echoed with He Donglin's pitiful cries, but beyond that, everything was quiet. No one could have imagined that Fang Yu, who was usually unknown, had such a fierce side. He Donglin's hand bones were crushed by Fang Yu's feet. After seeing this behind the scenes, the other followers who had originally planned to launch a surprise attack on Fang Yu all felt cold and dared not move. "Teacher, hurry up and take a few slow steps. Maybe Fang Yu will be severely injured." At this moment, there were footsteps and the sound of Lu Pengzi coming from outside the classroom door. Immediately, Huang Hai and Lu Pengzi walked in from the back door of the classroom, and as soon as they entered, they saw Fang Yu stepping on He Donglin's hand, causing He Donglin to convulse in pain. This was completely opposite to what Lu Pengzi had anticipated. For a moment, Lu Pengzi was dumbfounded and stood still. Huang Hai reacted, his face turned pale, and he angrily said, "What's going on? What's going on? Are you trying to turn things around?" Seeing that Fang Yu had no response, Huang Hai quickly walked up to Fang Yu and pointed at him, saying, "Fang Yu, how dare you beat your classmate? I won't even move your foot." Fang Yu glanced at Huang Hai and said, "They took the initiative. They also threw my desk and books back. What if they start first? It's not right if you hit or hurt someone. Move your foot immediately." Huang Hai trembled with anger. You know, it was He Donglin who was stepped on by Fang Yu. He Donglin's father, He Wensheng, is the owner of a local construction company. He has a hot temper and a large group of brothers who work hard for him. If this matter is not handled properly, not only Fang Yu will suffer, but also the Yellow Sea will be angered. Okay, Fang Yu moved his foot away. Huang Hai breathed a sigh of relief. But he hasn't finished letting go of this. Bang! Fang Yu kicked He Donglin in the abdomen, hitting him directly into the back wall of the classroom, spitting out a large mouthful of blood, and fainting. After this kick, I'm even with him, Fang Yu said calmly. Seeing He Donglin's tragic situation, Huang Hai only felt a chill rising from his feet. He couldn't imagine how He Wensheng would react when he saw his precious son being beaten to his current appearance. "You." Huang Hai pointed at Fang Yu with a calm face, so angry that he couldn't even speak. He didn't expect that Fang Yu, who had been doing well for over 2 years, would cause him such a big trouble before graduating from high school. "Hurry up and take He Donglin and Hu Tao to the medical room," Huang Hai shouted to the stunned students. Several of He Donglin's attendants reacted and quickly walked forward to lift the fallen two out of the classroom. Huang Hai turned his head and stared fixedly at Fang Yu, saying, "You, come with me to the office." Lu Pengzi looked at Fang Yu with disbelief and sadness in his eyes. He knew that the disaster caused by Fang Yu today would definitely not be resolved. The best outcome is that Fang Yu is fired and then compensated for medical expenses. The worst outcome was that Fang Yu suffered from the anger of He Wensheng and disappeared into Jianghai City. After Fang Yu followed Huang Hai out of the classroom, it became as lively as a frying pan. Damn it! Fang Yu is too fierce, right? He Donglin was beaten to such a miserable state. I used to think that Fang Yu was an introverted person who didn't even dare to say a few more words, but I didn't expect him to be so cruel. Both male and female students are discussing Fang Yu, and many of them are not only shocked but also somewhat relieved. He Donglin, relying on his family background, is arrogant in the class, and many people have long disliked him. Today, Fang Yu defeated He Donglin like this, which can be considered as doing something they really want to do but dare not do. Hee, do you think Fang Yu is really awesome? In fact, he is just a fool. Even if he dares to beat his classmates near graduation, the minimum punishment is dismissal. Maybe he will have to be recorded in his file and won't be able to take the college entrance examination in the future. Besides, He Donglin's parents will definitely not let Fang Yu go. I have met He Donglin's father several times and he is very influential in our local area. He has a group of younger brothers under his command. It's hard to say whether Fang Yu can save his life after leaving the school today. Jiang Yu sneered. To sum up, after today, Fang Yu's life has been ruined. He cannot take the college entrance examination and will be retaliated by the He Donglin family. Even if he doesn't die, he will be disabled, added Su Xiaona, Jiang Yu's desk mate. They said so, and the students in the class also felt that it was indeed so. However, Fang Yu had no prior friendship with them. Even if he was fired, beaten, or disabled, what was it to do with them? They just felt relieved when they saw He Donglin being beaten up. In the office, Huang Hai's face turned pale, and his hands holding the water cup were trembling slightly. Fang Yu, I can't handle this matter with you. I need to report directly to the teaching office and let them handle it. You seek your own blessings. The Yellow Sea said in a deep voice. Fang Yu didn't care at all. He came to school just to make a living, he could leave at any time, and disciplinary actions were meaningless to him. He Donglin's provocation made him, who had been feeling bored for a long time, feel the pleasure of a long-time absence. Although Fang Yu lived for thousands of years, he was still a qi refining cultivator without even building a foundation. Essentially, Fang Yu is still an ordinary person, and as long as he is an ordinary person, he will have fire. No matter how big the difference in strength and experience is between He Donglin and Fang Yu, they have to take action when it's time. Not to mention, the feeling of bullying the weak is quite satisfying. In the classroom. As soon as Tang Xiao walked into the classroom, she saw bloodstains behind the classroom, as well as a crooked table and scattered books on the floor. What happened? Tang Xiao was confused and looked around at her classmates. And these people closed their mouths and looked at Tang Xiao with strange eyes when they saw her walk in. Tang Xiao returned to her seat and saw that there was only one chair left next to Fang Yu, which made her realize that the table at the back of the classroom belonged to Fang Yu. What exactly happened? Tang Xiao frowned and was confused. The chubby Lu behind him looked at Tang Xiao and suddenly his eyes lit up. Fang Yu seems to have some help. Subsequently, Lu Pengzi asked Tang Xiao to come to the corridor and told her everything that had happened before. He crushed someone else's hand bone directly. Tang Xiao covered her mouth and asked incredulously. Yeah. We all heard the sound of bones shattering, and now looking back, we still have goosebumps. Fang Yu's figure looks quite thin, but his feet are so strong. Lu Pengzi said with lingering fear. Tang Xiao was caught in thought. For her, this is a good opportunity. This is a good opportunity to blackmail Fang Yu to treat Tang Laozi's illness. I know now, I will find a way to prevent Fang Yu from being fired, Tang Xiao said to Lu Pengzi. That would be great. Lu Pengzi exclaimed with great joy. Tang Xiao is the daughter of the Tang family. If she is willing to help, Fang Yu can definitely be saved. Academic Affairs Office. Fang Yu stood in front of Pan Chang, the director of the Academic Affairs Office, while class teacher Huang Hai stood aside. Fang Yu, we have informed He Donglin's father that he is rushing over. Before that, I want to know why you want to beat He Donglin's classmate. Pan Chang asked with a stern expression. I've said it, he started with it. He threw my desk behind the classroom and I asked him to move it back to its original position, but he refused and even started with me, Fang Yu said truthfully. He started first. So why is he the one who's injured now? And you're unharmed? Pan Chang frowned. It's easy, because I can fight better than him, Fang Yu replied. Pan Chang slammed the table and stood up angrily, saying, Fart. Do you still look natural after hitting someone? Do you look like a student? Do you look like a teenager? I want to call your family over and see how they teach you how to be a good person. I don't have any family members, so there's no need to call, Fang Yu said. No family members. Pan Chang looked at Huang Hai. Huang Hai hesitated for a moment and said, Director Pan, Fang Yu. Indeed, there are no family members. His files indicate that he is an orphan raised by an old man who passed away when he was in junior high school. I turned out to be an orphan, and orphans shouldn't do this. Do you deserve the elderly person who raised you? If there is a spirit under his family's spring that knows you. Pan Chang still scolded angrily. The content on Fang Yu's file is naturally all fake, and there is no such thing as an elderly person. Moreover, Fang Yu didn't want to listen to someone who was several thousand years younger than him, so he interrupted. Director Pan, just announce the punishment decision on me directly. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. You. Pan Chang was so angry that he couldn't speak and his face turned red. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. I want him to disappear. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. I want him to disappear. After a while, Pan Chang's mood slightly calmed down and he said in a deep voice, Fang Yu, if you have a better attitude, I can still help you plead for mercy. But your attitude has disappointed me. Since that's the case, you can bear all the consequences yourself. Fang Yu remained silent. A few minutes later, there was a rapid sound of footsteps outside the academic affairs office. A bald man with large tattooed arms and a face full of flesh strode into the office. Who is Fang Yu? The bald man asked loudly. May I ask if you are the parent of He Donglin? Pan Chang stood up, feeling a bit intimidated. I'm De Biao. My elder brother went to the clinic to see Donglin. He asked me to come and catch that brat named Fang Yu, replied the bald man. Pan Chang instinctively looked at Fang Yu. Is that you? De Biao saw Fang Yu with a fierce light in his eyes and walked forward. Mr. De Biao, after all, this is a school. I hope you don't engage in any illegal or disciplinary behavior here. Pan Chang wiped away the cold sweat from his forehead and said. This damn thing hit my big brother's precious son. If I don't break his hands and feet, how can I treat my big brother well? De Biao sneered and extended his left hand towards Fang Yu's back neck. At this moment, Fang Yu turned around and grabbed De Biao's outstretched left hand. Do you still want to resist? De Biao had a wicked smile on his face, and his left hand exerted a little force. I didn't expect it, his left hand couldn't even move. De Biao's face changed slightly, he gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength. His thick arm muscles were tense, and his veins were bulging, but he still couldn't move at all. How could this be possible? Fang Yu is just a seemingly weak middle school student, how could he have such great power? If you don't want to lie in the medical room like He Donglin, you'd better stop, Fang Yu said. When has De Biao, who has been on the road for over a decade, been threatened like this? Especially, the other party is just a middle school student who hasn't even grown hair yet. For a moment, De Biao's eyes turned red with anger and he said angrily, who do you think you are? During his speech, De Biao threw out his right fist. Fang Yu didn't dodge at all. He extended his left palm and easily blocked De Biao's punch. I can beat you down, Fang Yu said casually, then kicked De Biao in the abdomen. Bang! With a muffled sound, De Biao, a 1.9-meter tall man, flew out of the office door and fell heavily on the hallway, unable to stand up. At this moment, Pan Chang and Huang Hai on the side were both stunned, their eyes wide open, looking at Fang Yu as if they were looking at a monster. You should all have seen it. He was the one who first attacked me. I was defending myself in self-defense. When I faced He Donglin, it was the same situation as before. Fang Yu turned his head and said to Pan Chang. This. Pan Chang opened his mouth, unable to speak. Fang Yu looked at De Biao lying outside the door and sighed in his heart. Anyway, after what happened today, he couldn't stay at this school anymore. Ringing bells. At this moment, the landline phone on Pan Chang's desk rang. Pan Chang regained his senses and picked up the phone. Hello, Principal He. Yes, he's right here with me now. Ah. But with He Dongling's parents. Okay, I understand. 2 minutes later, Pan Chang put down the phone and looked at Fang Yu with extremely complex eyes. Fang Yu. You can go back to the classroom now. Our school will help you with the rest. Before Fang Yu could react, Huang Hai's face changed and he asked, Director Pan, is this? Pan Chang ignored Huang Hai and continued to say to Fang Yu, our previous actions were also in accordance with school rules and regulations. I hope you can understand our difficulties. It's okay, I'm leaving, Fang Yu said before turning around and leaving the academic affairs office. After Fang Yu left, Huang Hai asked again, Director Pan, what exactly is going on? Principal, he just called and said someone has saved Fang Yu. Pan Chang took a deep breath and said. Who is it? Huang Hai asked. In theory, Fang Yu has no relatives, comes from a poor family, and has few friends at school, so there shouldn't be anyone to help him. Moreover, the person injured by Fang Yu is He Donglin. His father He Wencheng is a notorious villain in Jianghai City. The school board, Tang family, Pan Chang replied. Surprisingly, it's the Tang family. So the Tang family's daughter is really related to Fang Yu. Huang Hai suddenly realized. Later on, he regretted his previous bad attitude towards Fang Yu. If Fang Yu held grudges, he would be in trouble. When Fang Yu returned to the classroom intact, there was a commotion in the class. How could this be possible? I heard that He Dongling's father has come to school, how could Fang Yu have nothing to do? Damn it! How could he come back so quickly? Jiang Yu looked at Fang Yu with resentment in her heart. Subsequently, she saw Tang Xiaoro smiling at Fang Yu and suddenly realized. It must be Tang Xiaoro's help. These dog men and women. Jiang Yu cursed with jealousy. Academic Affairs Office. He Wencheng's face turned pale and he sat at Pan Chang's desk. My son has been beaten and suffered a comminuted fracture in his right hand. He has less than 5 months left before the college entrance examination. If he doesn't recover well by then, he may not even be able to take the exam. De Biao is also seriously injured, how could I swallow this breath? He Wencheng angrily said. Mr. He, after investigation by our school, it was found that Lang Xian had the other party take action. Pan Chang explained with sweat on his forehead. Bang! He Wencheng slammed the table and said, damn it. Don't think I don't know, someone intervened and saved that bastard Fang Yu. Pan Chang took out a handkerchief to wipe his sweat and said cautiously, Mr. He, please understand our work. He Wencheng's face changed and anger filled his chest. As a famous villain in Jianghai City, how could he ever hold back like today? My son's right hand was almost disabled, but the initiator did not do anything. If this matter were to spread, how many people on the road would laugh at him? His mother, I must let that bastard pay the price. Otherwise, I won't have to work in Jianghai City. He Wencheng gnashed his teeth. Pan Chang was so frightened by the fierce aura on He Wencheng that he dared not speak. I can't touch him at school. But as long as he goes out of school, you can't control his life or death, right? He Wencheng slowly lifted his head and looked at Pan Chang with cruel eyes. Pan Chang nodded and whispered, what happened outside of school can only be considered an accident. He will disappear soon. He Wencheng had a plan in his heart and smiled gloomily. In the classroom, Tang Xiaoro has been secretly observing Fang Yu. Fang Yu couldn't bear it and turned to look at Tang Xiaoro, saying, do you think I would thank you? Tang Xiaoro was taken aback for a moment, thinking that Fang Yu was unaware. Of course you should thank me. Otherwise, if you hit someone, you will be fired. Tang Xiaoro opened her beautiful eyes and said. So why do you think I would hit someone? Fang Yu looked directly at Tang Xiaoro and asked. Tang Xiaoro felt a bit shy from Fang Yu's gaze, as she had never had such close contact with a boy before. How do I know? Tang Xiaoro avoided her gaze and said. If you don't transfer classes and ask to sit with me, I won't attract the attention of others, let alone be resented by He Donglin, and won't be provoked or forced to hit him. Fang Yu spoke quickly. Tang Xiaoro was stunned by Fang Yu's words. Moreover, the losses you have caused me are permanent. Now that I am completely famous in this class, even if I am not fired, there will be no less trouble in the future. So, I request you not to sit with me and leave this class. As I have said before, I really dislike trouble, Fang Yu continued. From childhood to adulthood, as the daughter of the Tang family, Tang Xiaoro has always been a little princess praised by many stars. How could she be so despised? Tang Xiaoro felt very aggrieved. She was so despised even though she had helped Fang Yu. If it weren't for treating Grandpa's illness, who would be sitting at the same table as you bastard? Tang Xiaoro cursed in her heart. Taking a deep breath and calming her mood, Tang Xiaoro finally spoke up, if you want me to leave this class, you can do it. As long as you promise to treat my grandfather's illness, I will leave immediately. Moreover, I will also give you a lot of compensation. Fang Yu frowned slightly and looked at Tang Xiaoro's pretty face, seriously considering it. To avoid further trouble in the future, Fang Yu replied. Deal. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Medicine God is my apprentice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Medicine God is my apprentice. Tang Xiaoro was overjoyed. I didn't expect her goal to be achieved so quickly. Let's go now. Tang Xiaoro's beautiful eyes lit up and she said. Fang Yu shook his head and said, it's not urgent, I don't want to skip class. Even if you're in class, you're still sleeping on the table. What's wrong with skipping class? Besides, we can take leave, Tang Xiaoro said urgently. Due to excessive excitement, her face slightly flushed. That's right, I'm just a bit tired, so let me rest first. After saying that, Fang Yu lay down on the table. Tang Xiaoro was both angry and anxious, but helpless. Throughout the morning, Fang Yu slept on the table as if nothing had happened. Many students in the class were still thinking that He Dongling's father would come knocking, but after 4 classes, there was no sound at all. Even during class, Huang Hai didn't mention the morning incident, as if nothing had happened. So, the students in the class looked at Fang Yu differently. Being able to sit at the same table as the daughter of the Tang family, while also being able to violently beat He Donglin without punishment, they used to think that Fang Yu was an introverted and isolated person, but now they see that the reason why Fang Yu speaks less may be because he disdains to communicate with them. After school in the afternoon, Tang Xiaoro was afraid that Fang Yu would slip away, so she reached out and grabbed Fang Yu's arm. Don't forget what you promised me this morning, Tang Xiaoro said. Release your hand, don't let others misunderstand, Fang Yu immediately reminded. Tang Xiaoro's face turned red, biting her red lips and releasing her hand. This bastard. Just grab his arm, it's like being taken advantage of. You're not really a man. Tang Xiaoro cursed Fang Yu 1,000 times in her heart. The two of them left the classroom, one in front and one behind, maintaining a relatively safe distance, and walked out of the school gate. As soon as he walked out of the school gate, Fang Yu felt a hostile gaze. Just across the street, there was a van parked with several sturdy thugs smoking in front of it. 2 of them sneered when they saw Fang Yu. These thugs are obviously under the command of He Wencheng. Tang Xiaoro also noticed the group of clearly ill-intentioned thugs across the street. She turned around and walked to Fang Yu's side, saying, I will have 4th uncle drive these people away. 4th uncle? Fang Yu asked. Right ahead, Tang Xiaoro pointed to a black Mercedes parked next to the school gate. 4th uncle was an adopted son adopted by my grandfather back then, named Tang Si. Now he is responsible for protecting my personal safety, Tang Xiaoro said as she walked. Quickly, the two walked to the side of Mercedes-Benz. A middle-aged man with obvious burn scars on his left face walked out of the driver's seat. Just at a glance, Fang Yu knew that this person was also a cultivator, and his realm was in the 8th level of the Qi refining period. In current terms, he is an innate warrior. Tang Si was also looking at Fang Yu. "Fourth uncle, over there." Tang Xiao walked up and said a few words to Tang Si. Tang Si nodded and walked straight towards the van, in front of the few thugs. Those thugs were originally arrogant, pointing at Fang Yu and waving their iron bars, as if they wanted to beat Tang Si together. But next, Tang Si said a few words, and the thugs immediately turned pale. They bowed to Tang Si and apologized, then quickly took a chartered car and left. "Your fourth uncle should be quite capable of fighting, right?" Fang Yu sat in the car and asked Tang Xiao beside him. "Of course, my fourth uncle is a certified innate 8th Dan warrior by the Martial Arts Association," Tang Xiao said proudly. "Oh. Is this innate warrior still segmented?" Fang Yu was a bit surprised. "Yes, innate martial artists are divided into 12 sections, and those who go up in the 8th section are considered outstanding. Those who go up in the 12th section are those very powerful martial arts masters. When I was a child, I once shook hands with the famous ancient masters in Jiangnan." Tang Xiao's beautiful eyes sparkled with satisfaction. "That is to say, an innate warrior is equivalent to a period of refining qi, with each section being equivalent to a layer. And the martial arts master should be the foundation building period after the qi refining period. Now, isn't it that I am a naturally born 9832 Dan martial artist? It sounds quite impressive," Fang Yu thought to himself. Tang Si returned and sat in the driver's seat, starting the car. "Miss, this is..." Tang Si looked at Fang Yu with his rearview mirror and asked. "This is the medicine god disciple we met last time in the Northwest. His name is Fang Yu and he is also my classmate now," Tang Xiao introduced. "Not soon," Fang Yu added. "Oh. Are you the disciple of the medicine god Xia Shuji?" Tang Si raised his eyebrows slightly, a little surprised. In his opinion, Fang Yu's temperament and everything else seemed ordinary and could not be more ordinary. Can such an ordinary high school student be the disciple of the medicine god? Miss is still young and innocent, shouldn't she be deceived? Tang Si's opponent Yu developed a sense of vigilance. Tang Laozi's illness had a chance to be cured, which made Tang Xiao's mood very good. Along the way, she talked endlessly, telling some stories of her childhood. Fang Yu was not interested in these stories and responded sentence by sentence. Half an hour later, Fang Yu arrived at the Tang family located in the top villa area of Jianghai City. The villa of the Tang family occupies an area more than 20 times larger than the place where Fang Yu lives, with a classical architectural style that exudes the grandeur of the Tang family in every corner. After passing through a large courtyard filled with potted plants and an artificial small lake, we arrived at the living room. A maid approached and said, "Miss, you're back." Tang Xiao let out a and urgently asked, "Where's Grandpa?" The servant hadn't answered yet, but a woman's voice came from the sofa behind him. "Your grandfather is receiving a diagnosis from experts in the capital. Why are you in such a hurry to find him?" "Auntie." Tang Xiao then realized that the middle-aged woman sitting on the sofa was her uncle's wife, Liang Rong. "Xiao, how can I bring my classmates back without introducing them?" Liang Rong, dressed in luxurious attire, looked at Fang Yu. "He is the disciple of the medicine god whom my brother and I met in the Northwest. His name is Fang Yu," Tang Xiao introduced. "Oh. Are you Fang Yu?" Liang Rong squinted slightly and looked at Fang Yu carefully. Fang Yu nodded but did not speak. "Are you sure you're the disciple of the medicine god? Deceiving our Tang family. You can't bear the consequences. Now I'll give you a chance. As long as you admit to lying, I can ignore it," Liang Rong said with a sneer on her face. She didn't believe that an ordinary young man of the same age as Tang Xiaoro would be the disciple of the medicine god. Moreover, she happened to be studying at the same school as Tang Xiaoro. It is obvious that Fang Yu has ulterior motives to approach the Tang family, or rather to approach Tang Xiaoro. This kind of thing is not new to wealthy families like the Tang family. Upon hearing Liang Rong's words, Tang Xiaoro's face changed and she exclaimed urgently, "Auntie, I invited Fang Yu back to treat Grandpa's illness." Treating illness. Just him. Hee, Xiaoro, you're still too naive. I guarantee this kid's origin is unknown, and he's not even a disciple of the medicine god. He just has ulterior motives. He wants to get close to you and benefit from our Tang family. Liang Rong sneered and said. I seem to have said early on that I am not the disciple of the medicine god, right? Fang Yu glanced at Tang Xiaoro and said. Indeed, I admit it, right? Liang Rong said with a contemptuous expression on her face. Actually, strictly speaking, Xia Shouji is my disciple, Fang Yu smiled slightly and said. Upon hearing this sentence, everyone present had a strange expression, including the servant on the side and Tang Si who was following behind. Has this person gone insane after being exposed? Is Yao Shen his disciple? But when it comes to other things, how old is Yao Shen and how old is he? Before he was born, the god of medicine had already gained fame in China, right? A bunch of nonsense. Xiaoro. Last time you and Fenger came back and told me you saw the disciple of the medicine god, I still held hope and thought the old man was still saved. But I didn't expect you to find such a crazy person. A middle-aged man wearing a suit and glasses walked out of the back room. Dad! Tang Xiaoro shouted softly. Tang Mingda's face was gloomy as he looked at Fang Yu and said, Tell me, who sent you to approach our Tang family? Tell the truth, we can still let you go, otherwise. You can't easily escape. Tang Xiaoro's tears swirled in her beautiful eyes. She brought Fang Yu back only to treat Mr. Tang's illness, and never thought that things would develop like this. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. I want her to stay away from me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. I want her to stay away from me. Seeing that Fang Yu remained silent, Tang Mingda gave Tang Si, who was standing behind Fang Yu, a glance. Tang Si immediately stepped forward. Fourth uncle. Don't. Tang Xiaoro's face changed greatly when she saw Tang Si wanting to take action against you. Tang Si is an innate 8th Dan martial artist. As soon as he takes action, Fang Yu is bound to suffer serious injuries. Kid, let me give you one last chance. To be honest, who sent you and what was the purpose? Tang Mingda frowned and asked. As a top-tier powerhouse, the Tang family has too many enemies, whether in the open or in the dark. For Tang Mingda, it is better to kill the wrong enemies than to let them go. I'm telling the truth, but you don't believe me. What can I do? Fang Yu spread out his hand. Fang Yu's fearless appearance completely angered Tang Mingda. It seems that you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Tang Mingda's voice completely cooled down. Tang Si reached out and grabbed Fang Yu. Stop it. Cough. Just at the critical moment, an elderly voice came from upstairs, accompanied by coughing. Grandpa. Tang Xiaoro exclaimed excitedly when she saw Mr. Tang, who was being pushed in a wheelchair by a servant and appeared at the staircase on the second floor. I am willing to have little brother Fang Yu treat my illness, Tang said as he looked at Tang Mingda. Tang Mingda's face changed and he exclaimed urgently, Dad, how can things like treating illnesses go wrong? Not to mention whether this kid has ulterior motives, he can't be a doctor just at his age. Mr. Tang is right, Mr. Tang. Although you are in the late stage of lung cancer, you must not blindly believe some unscrupulous people. Your behavior is equivalent to giving up hope for survival. As long as you follow the chemotherapy plan I have formulated for you, relax your body and mind, your life can be extended. Standing beside Mr. Tang is Chen Jingxin, a lung cancer expert invited by Tang Mingde from the capital. Dad, Dr. Chen is a professional. You have to listen to him, right? Tang Mingde said. Tang Laozi shook his head and said, no matter how professional he is, he can only make me live for less than 3 more months. I have personally witnessed the abilities of Fang Yu, and I am willing to believe him. Don't stop him anymore. Tang Mingde still wanted to speak, but when he saw Tang Laozi's resolute gaze, he swallowed the words into his stomach. Mr. Tang's physical condition is already very poor, we must not provoke him anymore. Dad, I agree to let Fang Yu show you, but we and Dr. Chen must be present, Tang Mingde said. This is his final bottom line. Brother Fang Yu, do you agree with this? Tang Laozi looked at Fang Yu and asked. No problem, how fast and how come? Fang Yu stretched lazily and yawned. His lazy posture made Tang Mingde and others very unhappy. Even Tang Xiaoro had doubts in her heart. It looks too unreliable. A few minutes later, Fang Yu arrived at the second floor, Mr. Tang's study. Fang Yu took a stool and sat in front of Mr. Tang. Tang Mingde and his companions stood on the side, less than 5 meters away. Moreover, in addition to Tang Si, Tang Mingde also summoned 2 bodyguards to prevent Fang Yu from suddenly getting into trouble. Fang Yu grabbed Mr. Tang's right wrist and felt his pulse. Seeing this scene, Chen Jingxin beside him showed contempt. Mr. Tang is suffering from lung cancer. What is the use of pulse monitoring? Unfortunately, what Chen Jingxin saw was only superficial. In fact, during the process of checking the pulse, Fang Yu had already inputted the true qi into Tang Laozi's pulse and allowed it to circulate in Tang Laozi's body for a week, in order to explore Tang Laozi's physical condition. In theory, the release of true qi can only be achieved when the foundation is built in an upward state. But Fang Yu was able to release his true qi as early as the 100th level of gas refining. 1 minute later, Fang Yu withdrew his hand. The situation is not very good. Upon hearing these words, Chen Jingxin beside him was even more contemptuous. He has always looked down on traditional Chinese medicine, thinking that it is a pseudoscience and a group of old masters pretending to be mischievous. And everything Fang Yu has done now precisely confirms his view. I took a pulse and said solemnly, the situation is not very good, even a person can perform it. Cough, let me say a few words. Child, may I ask what you see? What's wrong with the situation? Can you explain it in detail? It will also make it easier for me to learn from your traditional Chinese medicine. Chen Jingxin spoke with a sharp tone, his eyes full of contempt. Tang Xiaoro looked nervously at Fang Yu, afraid that she wouldn't be able to explain why. Cancer cells have spread throughout the body, especially near the spine. The reason why Mr. Tang cannot walk is because his spine is eroded by cancer cells. Moreover, Mr. Tang should be accompanied by high blood pressure and mild cerebral infarction. Fang Yu seemed to have read Mr. Tang's inspection report and revealed all the problems he had. At first, Chen Jingxin's face was full of ridicule, but as he listened, his expression slowly changed, becoming shocked. In the end, he opened his eyes wide, filled with disbelief. All the symptoms mentioned by Fang Yu are correct, including some illnesses that have appeared in the past 2 days. Tang Xiaoro couldn't quite understand and looked at Tang Mingde, only to see that Tang Mingde was also stunned. How could this be? Did someone leak the master's inspection report? Liang Rong exclaimed loudly. Tang Mingde regained his senses and looked at Fang Yu, his eyes filled not only with shock but also with excitement. The situation described by Liang Rong is simply impossible to occur. The complete examination report of Mr. Tang was personally kept in the safe by Tang Mingde, and it was impossible for anyone except the attending doctor to touch it. Moreover, Fang Yu also mentioned several recent symptoms of Tang Laozi. This young man really has the ability. It's impossible to cure your situation, Fang Yu said again. The hope that had just ignited in Tang Mingda's eyes instantly extinguished. Tang Xiaorou's eyes turned red. I said this kid has no ability. He can see his illness but cannot cure it. What's the use of you? Liang Rong sneered on the side. So. How long can I live? Mr. Tang asked with difficulty. I will give you acupuncture and moxibustion first, and then I will give you a prescription. If you can buy all the herbs on the prescription and take them once a day, you can probably live for about 10 years, said Fang Yu. 10 years. Mr. Tang was stunned for a moment, then he became ecstatic. Despite being diagnosed by numerous doctors with less than 3 months left, he can still live an extra 10 years. Fang Yu. Are you telling the truth? You're not joking, are you? Tang Xiaorou asked with tears in her beautiful eyes. The premise is that you can buy all the herbs on that prescription, and there are several herbs inside that should be very rare now, said Fang Yu. This is absolutely no problem. We will buy it even if it is rare. Fang Yu. Sir, please hurry up to give my father acupuncture and moxibustion. Tang Mingda said excitedly. 1 hour later, Fang Yu walked out of Mr. Tang's study. In the process of acupuncture and moxibustion, Mr. Tang vomited a mouthful of blood, which shocked Tang Mingda and others. But this mouthful of blood was a buildup of toxins in the body. After spitting it out, Tang Laozi's whole body relaxed a lot, and his face returned to a slightly rosy complexion. Chen Jingxin used professional instruments to measure Mr. Tang and found that his various risk indicators had decreased significantly. At this point, Tang Mingda and others completely believed in Fang Yu. As you know, Don Tang has taken countless medicines, none of which is as effective as Fang Yu's acupuncture and moxibustion this time. Chen Jingxin found an excuse and left the Tang family in a gloomy manner. Although Liang Rong still didn't like Fang Yu in her heart, she dared not say anything more openly. After writing down the prescription, Fang Yu is about to leave. Dr. Fang, please don't take your misunderstandings and impoliteness to heart, Tang Mingda said sincerely. Fang Yu waved his hand, indicating that he didn't care. Tang Mingda took out another check and handed it to Fang Yu. Dr. Fang, here is a check with no amount filled in. You can fill in as much as you want. This is your reward for treating my father's illness. Actually, money is not important. I just hope Tang Xiaorou doesn't forget what she promised me. Fang Yu looked at Tang Xiaorou on the side and said. Do you two still have private transactions? This is a good thing. You should communicate more with your peers, Tang Mingda laughed. He knew that Fang Yu was a rare medical genius in 100 years, and it would definitely be beneficial for Tang Xiaorou to get closer to Fang Yu. It's not a deal, I just want her to stay away from me, Fang Yu said. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Don't provoke me again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Don't provoke me again. After Fang Yu left, Tang Mingda looked at Tang Xiaorou with strange eyes. His daughter is very beautiful and has many suitors. But when I arrived at Fang Yu's place, why did I look like I couldn't avoid it? It must be that Xiaorou is too spoiled, which has annoyed Dr. Fang. Tang Mingda sighed and said. I don't have it. It's because Fang Yu doesn't like to cause trouble, that's why. Tang Xiaorou said angrily. Looking out the door, Tang Mingda sighed and said, it's been a long time since I've seen such an outstanding young person. He's not arrogant or restless, with a calm demeanor, but possesses extraordinary skills. The most important thing is that he has an indifferent heart for fame and fortune. When I gave him that check just now, his calm and composed demeanor far exceeded his age. What kind of family can teach such a child? If given the opportunity, I really want to meet his parents. After Tang Mingda finished speaking, he turned around and looked at Tang Xiaorou. He shook his head and said, whether it's you or Fang'er, you're far from this miraculous Dr. Fang. Your siblings need to continue working hard. Tang Xiaoro has never seen her father praise a young person so much. Is this Fang Yu really so outstanding? Humph. Tang Xiaoro is a bit dissatisfied. I don't think Fang Yu has much disgust towards you either. You still need to communicate more with him and strive to make friends. This son is definitely not a fish in the pond. Tang Mingda instructed again. Fang Yu returned to the vegetable garden and wanted to pick some vegetables to go home. When he reached a distance of about 10 meters from the vegetable garden, he found a string of shoe prints on the ground. Although the footprints appeared shallow on the dry and hard mountain road, Fang Yu could still see at least 6 different shoe prints. That is to say, about an hour ago, 6 people walked towards the direction of the vegetable garden. This is unusual. Normally, no one would step into this small mountain. Damn it, you're not here to steal vegetables, are you? With this thought in mind, Fang Yu quickened his pace. As soon as they reached the outskirts of the vegetable garden, several dark shadows flashed out from the side and instantly surrounded Fang Yu. Align the muzzle of 6 pistols with Fang Yu. One of the people in black took a step forward with a smile on his face and said, "Friend, we just want to ask a few questions. I hope you can answer truthfully." "Okay, you can ask." There was no hint of panic on Fang Yu's face. "Is this vegetable garden yours?" the man in black asked. "It's mine." "At this time yesterday afternoon, were you also near this vegetable garden?" the man in black continued to ask. "That's right." At this point, Fang Yu already knew why these people came. "Did you see a woman yesterday afternoon?" The man in black squinted slightly. "I see," Fang Yu replied. Several people in black exchanged a glance, with a murderous intent in their eyes. "So, did you save that woman?" The black-clad man's finger tightened the trigger, ready to shoot at any time. "Strictly speaking, I didn't save that woman. It was your companions who wanted to kill me, and I just killed them out of self-defense," Fang Yu said with a slight smile. "Thank you for your honesty, goodbye." The man in black in front of him gave a cold smile and pulled the trigger. Bang! With a gunshot, a bullet shot straight at Fang Yu's forehead. The person in black is only 10 meters away from Fang Yu. Such a short distance, as long as it is a human, it is impossible to escape. But Fang Yu, with just a slight tilt of his head, managed to dodge this bullet. "Alas, I always say that your companions were killed by me because they wanted to kill me. Why did you take action again?" Fang Yu's voice was like a ghost, drifting to the ears of every black-clothed person. 6 people in black had a chaotic mentality and turned their heads to search for Fang Yu, but they couldn't see anyone. Bang! The next second, a man in black let out a scream and flew out. "He's over here!" another man in black shouted and fired. Bang! Chaotic gunshots rang out, accompanied by waves of screams. In just 30 seconds, 5 of the 6 black-clothed people fell to the ground, losing their breath. The last one is the person in black who just asked a question. After witnessing Fang Yu's ghostly skills, the man in black had no blood on his face and trembled all over. He hit a monster. Escape. Be sure to escape. Otherwise, I won't survive. The man in black turned around and was about to run, but saw Fang Yu standing in front of him. Ah! The man in black shouted loudly and raised his pistol, wanting to shoot Fang Yu who was close by. Click. But the next second, he grabbed the right hand of the pistol and was cut off by Fang Yu with his palm. The man in black screamed and sat down on the ground, his eyes wide open and filled with fear. "We need to request reinforcements. To tell Miss Yang, this person is a monster." The man in black took out an old-fashioned phone from his pocket with his left hand and dialed a number. Fang Yu watched him quietly. 3 seconds later, the opposite party answered the phone. The man in black was about to speak when Fang Yu snatched his phone. "Hello." There was a moment of silence across the street. "The person you sent has already been resolved by me." I hate trouble, so I hope this is the last time, said Fang Yu. Miss Yang, this person is not an ordinary person. You want to send Big Brother by? Ah. The black-clothed man beside him shouted loudly, but before he could finish speaking, he was kicked in the chest by Fang Yu, who let out a scream and broke his breath. What is your full name? Fang Yu asked into his phone. The other party is still silent. Okay, if you don't want to say anything, forget what I said and don't provoke me again. After finishing, Fang Yu hung up the phone. Looking at the blood and corpses on the ground, Fang Yu rubbed his temples. What's going on these past few days? I have encountered more troubles than I have encountered in the past decade. Yang family. Yang Yinzhu put down the phone, her delicate white hands trembling slightly. She, as well as the Yang family, has never been threatened like this before. Who the hell are you? Yang Yinzhu's red lips were blazing with flames, and her black and white eyes exuded a murderous aura. Today she sent 6 elite members of her family over, but surprisingly, the entire army was destroyed. This is something she never dreamed of. In these 2 days, she has lost 8 elite members in a row. Recalling the last voice of the subordinate on the phone, Yang Yinzhu took out his phone and dialed a number. Let Baijian come find me. In the VIP ward of Jianghai Central Hospital. Ji Rumei woke up from her coma and saw her parents sitting next to the hospital bed. Ji Dongshan saw Ji Rumei waking up, and his suspended heart finally calmed down. Rumei, you finally woke up. Is there anything uncomfortable with you? The mother beside her, Wei Ling, also had a nervous expression on her face. Dad, Mom, I'm fine, Ji Rumei replied. After confirming that Ji Rumei was not seriously ill, Ji Dongshan's face darkened and he said, Rumei, are you sure the Yang family did this? I'm sure. At that time, those 2 assassins thought I was going to die and exposed Yang Yinzhu. Ji Rumei frowned slightly and said. Yang family. Damn it. Previously, fights were all under the table, but now they even take direct action and want the life of my precious daughter. If this revenge is not avenged, Ji Dongshan is not worthy of being a father. Ji Dongshan said angrily. After a while, Ji Dongshan's emotions calmed down slightly and he asked, Rumei, do you remember who saved you? This is a great benefactor of our Ji family, and we must repay him. Recalling Fang Yu's skills, Ji Rumei still felt frightened and fearful. I don't know his name. But he looks very young and has strong skills. Those 2 assassins have guns in their hands, but they didn't even have a chance to shoot afterwards. Ji Rumei said. Is there such a divine person? Isn't it even stronger than your Uncle Wu? Ji Dongshan said. Wu Ming is the sworn brother of Ji Dongshan, a born 9-Dan warrior with extraordinary strength. Ji Rumei shook her head and said, I don't know, but that person is indeed very powerful. Well. No matter what, he is our benefactor. We must find him and repay his life-saving kindness, Ji Dongshan said. The next day in class, Fang Yu sat in his seat and looked at Tang Xiaoro beside him. Hey, should you fulfill your promise now? Fang Yu said. I'll go after class later, what's the rush? Tang Xiaoro said discontentedly. She also has self-esteem, being despised by a boy like this hurts her heart. After class, Tang Xiaoro angrily left her seat and walked towards the office. Finally able to stay away from the center of the topic and not receive attention from others. Fang Yu took a deep breath. 5 minutes later, Tang Xiaoro returned and sat beside Fang Yu with an unhappy expression on her face. The teaching director refused to let me change, and I was even criticized. End of this chapter.